Welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch. It's Monday, the 16th of June, 2025. Summer is beginning to kick in across portions of the U.S. We have severe weather and heavy rain, but we also have a heat wave, the first one really of the summer that's going to be spreading east for the next several days and beyond. Let's take a look at the satellite image this afternoon. Actually, looking at this, relatively quiet. There's an eruption of thunderstorms in the deep south. This is the most active weather right up here and the most potential for severe weather. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Here's the 500 millibar chart laid on top of that. Very typical pattern for June. Weak disturbances. Nothing real concrete. There is a trough of low pressure here, but compared to earlier in the spring and certainly to winter type troughs, this is pretty weak. And you can tell by the spacing of these red lines here that the winds are not blowing very strongly through these channels. Now this is fairly strong out here and also across the northern plains, which is helping to fire some of that severe weather potential. So up in Minnesota, we have the combo that I was taught way back when I started really learning about weather. Here's the trouble triangle right here. The warm front, the cold front, and this sector right here where it is unstable and where severe thunderstorms could occur. We have this dying leftover sort of very weak front that is still connected with that upper level feature that stretches from southern parts of Missouri and northern Arkansas back into West Virginia and then on off into the Atlantic. Out of all this, I think probably the best weather is up in the northeast where temperatures are a little cool for the season, with coastal Maine only in the upper or the lower 60s. Dew points are all in the 50s and even in the 40s in some places. Boston has an onshore breeze, 66 over 58. 66 is the temperature. 58 is the dew point. Pretty nice air up here. They are going to get the hot temperatures. Just wait a week and they'll be in the 90s, upper 90s in parts of New England. Well, there's a tornado watch in effect for the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, St. Cloud, upstate, not quite to the Canadian border. This is the radar that was snapped earlier today. We have a PDS tornado warning up here, meaning a tornado has been spotted. So these thunderstorms are starting to break out here, and one little one right there. See that? This is not severe, but it'll continue off into Wisconsin. So here's what the HRRR simulator radar looks like at 6 p.m., and so these are active supercells that will continue to grow. So what I just showed you on radar will continue to advance. And then the trail end of this down here through parts of Nebraska will fill in tonight as well, and that's one of two enhanced areas for severe weather. The first one is ongoing right now. Well, I say now, I'm recording this just before 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and then later on tonight here in Nebraska, big-time severe weather. A little bit of a tornado risk with that. The bigger risk is up in Minneapolis and also parts of, all that area you see there in Minnesota. So there's a 5% risk there. It's a wind machine we're talking about here later on in Nebraska with a smaller tornado risk. And if we look at that tornado risk for NATOcast's plot, 5% covers a lot of central and east central Minnesota, and even a chunk of parts of Wisconsin all the way over to Eau Claire. If you want more detail on severe weather outlooks, I issue a video every single morning after the Storm Prediction Center does their morning update, and it'll take you out to 7 days and beyond, so check that out. Flood watches are in effect for areas around the Ohio River and western Kentucky, Boot Heel region of Missouri, southern Illinois, also just about all of West Virginia, and just about all of North Carolina. If we look at the flood risks, so there's a slight risk of a 15% chance of heavy rain hazards in those very same areas where the watches have been issued, but this also includes areas up to Pittsburgh. That's for today. Tuesday, the heavy rain shifts with the front, so Kansas City, Topeka, Lincoln, Nebraska, Omaha, Des Moines, all under the gun for heavy rain. You can also see some heavier rain in West Virginia getting up to Pittsburgh. If we take a look at the Weather Prediction Center's total precipitation, QPF, for the next 7 days, the hardest hit areas for rain will be up in parts of Kansas and in the Great Lakes states, with those areas patchy, not as extensive in parts of Pennsylvania and down in North Carolina. Hot weather is starting to spread, so the hazardous heat is just moving along. So these all represent the hazardous heat area moving more east with time. This is June 19th through the 23rd. Also a little corner south of Phoenix there, Tucson, getting pretty hot. If we go beyond that to the 8 to 14 day outlook, they're still highlighting parts of the Great Lakes states, the Midwest, and just about all of New England for extreme heat. This is labeled the 6th through the 24th. If I just take a sample here, Columbus, Ohio, for example, they're going to be climbing well into the 90s beginning over the weekend, late in the weekend, Sunday, and through much of next week. These might be an understatement on the temperatures, I have a feeling. But if you look at that's the morning GFS. If I look at the latest GFS loop here, so where you see that whitish color, that's 90s, and then the gray color is 100. So as you start watching this loop forward, you'll see how the heat actually spreads through parts of Nebraska. That's the first part of it. And then as you see, the colors get a little bit more progressive down in the southeast and also up in New England here. So this is just one model's opinion, but it does look as if we might get close to 100 degrees in some parts of New England. Tropical forecast for the Atlantic, nothing significant expected for the next 7 days. Actually, nothing for the next 2 weeks, really. We had Eric out in the East Pacific, and these are the next three names. And we have a disturbed area, 5E, south of Mexico, and that is going to be watched. It likely will develop into Flossie at some point, but all of these head due east, and if they do curve north, they go into cold water usually and die off pretty quickly. Let's take a look at temperatures in the shorter term. So still pretty hot in West Texas, still kind of cool in Wyoming and parts of the Nebraska Panhandle. New England enjoying relatively cool weather. We showed you that station plot just a few minutes ago. Thursday, the heat's starting to take hold out west and spread into Nebraska and also take hold in New England. And then the heat really starts to hit up on Saturday through Nebraska. And you'll notice that much more of the country now is covered in yellow and red, meaning above normal temperatures. And while it doesn't look too hot up here yet, it will get that way. Atlanta will be 93 on Saturday, and they're going to be increasing their temperature as well into the weekend and into next week. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.